Professor B. Murli Manohar is presently a senior professor of BIT Business School, BIT University, Vellore. It's another institute of eminence like KIT, and he is there with the B School since its inception, and he has been a very successful employee, and he has received a couple of times Best Employee Award there, and he has guided 5 PhD scholars, published more than 25 peer-reviewed research papers, and he has done his PhD in e-commerce from Sri Venkateswara University. And if I remember, hope you don't mind, Professor Murli, when I was there at VIT for 1 year, I really enjoyed all your hospitality, and particularly convey my regards to all your colleagues there. And for the information of those who are attending here, I had a very fantastic relation when I served for very briefly VIT when I lost my father. I had to come back to Odisha, and they are really very hospitable, and we had a very fantastic relation there. And VIT, as they are marching ahead because of this discipline, united, concentrated effort, and they are leading actually in all ratings. I won't take much time. Over to you, Professor Murli. Thank you for us. Thank you for joining this webinar. Over to you, Murli.
Yeah.
You can share the screen.
Good afternoon and welcome to this session. I would like to, am I audible, sir?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, please. Please continue. Please continue.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I would like to thank first Professor Subdi, who is a good friend of mine, and we are colleagues, more than colleague. He is always a mentor to me. While doing my PhD, he was helpful to me in my data analysis and trying to give his inputs on making the the thesis sound. I was trying to look at when Professor Subdi shared his interest in conducting this webinar and the conference, what to talk. So I just thought about talking something which I am familiar for the last 30 years, and many of us are part of this industry, which is academics. So we are going to talk about a concept on teaching, learning, and assessment. This is something which is of interest to every one of us. Yeah, the agenda for the presentation is the triangle of effective education. Then we are going to talk about the emerging trends, what's happening with respect to teaching, learning, and assessment, and the way forward for teaching, learning, and assessment in the post-COVID-19 scenario. This is what is the, we are not part of the education per se, but all of us have done our masters in philosophy and then followed by a doctorate. And most of us are familiar with this concept of, there are 3 components which are primarily important in education. One, what we represent, the teaching community, then our clients, our students. The third is the assessment. There are 3 of these are very critical for each one of us as part of our well-being of the institution. So when we say about teaching, there are a lot of issues with respect to the teaching. Many of our predecessors from the morning onwards, they said about being virtual is always a challenge. We don't know whether people will be able to receive our content. And then there are technical problems, like Arpan said about people may not be interested to spend a long time, and the challenges in adapting to the technology, both by the teachers as well as the students, and the secrecy with respect to the operations of conducting the assessments or evaluations. So there are 3 components. The first component is the student-centered learning, teaching. It's primarily what teaching is all about. Most of the time, we'll be looking at focusing on what we look at offering to our students. So we have a predefined curriculum, and then we have a understanding about our teaching schedule, or and then we follow that, and we also have an understanding about how are we going to evaluate each of these as part of our continuous assessment process. This is what is student-centered learning framework, which is a conventional model. Then people started talking about blended learning, which is a part you are going to do it in class, and then you also supplement with e-learning. Many institutions in India started doing this. People started offering courses online, or they are trying to share some of the e-resources so that the students can come forward with the class with a reading of that. It can be an additional learning material, or it can be part of your case studies or anything. And a combination of this is what is called as the blended learning is. The third component is called as transformative assessment. I was initially confused. When I sent my first proposal to Professor Sudhi, I was looking at teaching, learning, and evaluation. But then when I started looking at literature, it said it is not evaluation, it should be assessment. It's because evaluation is only one side. You are trying to test your student, whereas the assessment is completing the loop. You have set your own objectives, what we call it as course learning objectives or program learning objectives, PLOs or CLOs or whatever you call it, and then you run through the program, and then you make sure that you bridge the gap. That is what is an assessment is. And a transformative assessment is basically to help us to reach the set targets, whatever we kept for the organization. These are the following trends that's happening currently. The traditional practice, all these years we are following a uniform curriculum for all, but the change that's inevitable now is flexible curriculum based on the individual student's choice. VIT has actually implemented this almost like maybe for the last 10 years, what we call it as fully flexible credit system. The student has the freedom to do the courses when he wants to do and with whom he wants to do. And he has also a flexibility of choosing courses not only from his primary school, but also from secondary school. So in VIT, we made it mandatory that all the students are expected to complete at least 12 credits from non-engineering courses. It can be from social science, it can be law, it can be business. So they need to do that, and they have the flexibility of choosing these courses whenever they want. Now, whereas in the past, it was all like, semester 1, these are the courses, semester 2, the courses. Whereas here, the complete difference is going to be there. That's a change that we have seen and we have implemented successfully. And the past trend was the single point of entry, where the students will join at one go and leave the program at one end. Whereas today, we can actually move towards multi-point entry and multi-point exit system. We can look at many of these MOOC courses. They have this option. Students can join on demand course. They can join at any time, and they can do at their own pace and move of the program at any time. That's exactly what we mean by emerging trend. And the third traditional practice is the classroom based. It's basically an offline teaching, whereas I already explained about the trend that is happening today is a blended instruction, which includes both online and offline. Some of the programs today, particularly in the business, they have this off on and off off. They move from one campus to another campus, or they do a part of the program in online mode, and then they go to the campus to do the program in the second part. Another traditional practice is the teacher-student ratio is fixed. Conventionally, it is 1:20, 1:15, 1:12, whatever is the ratio that is defined based on the various assessment councils of the nation. If you are looking at QS ranking, people look at 1:12. The THE, they are looking at 1:12, 10. Whereas our AICT and UGC says 1:15 and 20 based on the depending of the program. What is going to happen is the teacher-student ratio will vary in online and offline instruction. I, as a faculty, can offer a course maybe for hundreds and thousands of students. So the student ratio will be 1:n. N is what is going to be the number of students. Whereas in the past, the concept is different. You are supposed to teach only for 1:20. as per the norms of the government or the governing agency of the education. That change is what is we are all experiencing. Another traditional the practice was focus is on developing and maintaining the physical infrastructure. We are all keen to build hundreds and thousands of square feet structures, be it in VIT, be it in KIT. You might have seen huge infrastructure, build multiple storied complexes for academic blocks and libraries and hostels and all. That concept is going to vanish, and we'll be moving towards completely developing digital infrastructure. Again, I would like to share, VIT. I'm talking about more of my own experience as one of the senior executives of the institution, that we have spent huge amount of money today on digital infrastructure. Probably VIT is one of those very few institutions other than the public institutions which has its own data center. Because why data center is because when you move online, most of the things are going to be digital in nature, and then to store that as per the UGC norms or as per the examination practices, you got to store a lot of content for a number of years, be it digital assignments submitted by the students or the presentations made on various platforms. It has to be stored for long periods, and the evaluation practices, it can be assignments, quizzes, everything has to be stored for long periods. And we also have set up a digital studio to run our own courses. VIT was waiting for the formal approval to set up run the programs, but during the pandemic, the moment we moved into pandemic, we made people to vacate the hostels. What we thought about is, by the time our studio, we created close to 24 courses, which is spanning from all engineering, management, and all various fields. And this 24 courses was offered to our students across 4 campuses, Vellore, Chennai, Bhopal, and Amravati. Close to 34,000 students have taken at least or maximum of 3 courses and a minimum of 1 course. And this enabled people to be busy with learning practice rather than simply chit-chatting in their house or trying to kill their time without doing any academic work. So, institutions are expected to spend more and more into digital infrastructure. That's exactly what is the current trend or an emerging trend. I was also touching upon these examination or the evaluation practices. In the past, it was held on a fixed date for all the students, but today it's going to be on-demand examination. As most of us have done our courses online on MOOC platform, be it Coursera or edX. Whenever we are doing with a unit, we can do our examination. It need not be for everybody else. And in the past, it was a closed book examination, but today it is going to be an open book examination. And then proctored by the invigilators. Our examinations in the past was controlled by invigilator who is in the examination hall. But today, the examinations are going to be unproctored or surveillance by electronic tools. Most of the industry today actually started implementing, particularly Merittrack has come up with a solution which enable you to actually control the unit by tracking the iris movement, as well as you can't connect any other device. So today, conducting an online exam is not going to be a challenging task. So the way forward for all of us in terms of the teaching, learning, and assessment in the post-COVID-19 scenario, teaching, the first myth, many of us as a faculty, we have a lot of myths. Now, when we are going to be physically present, we can see our students eye to eye, and we can know whether they are following or not. But that need not be there. Today, the myth is not relevant. And with the second myth, there are lots of myths about teaching, whether students who do the course online, whether it is valid or not. In fact, today, most of the industry, including in teaching, we made it mandatory that during the pandemic in VIT, everyone of us are expected to complete at least one course. And that course is about how to do MOOCs. And even I have done it, this particular course, for 6 weeks. and I might have done it in 3 weeks time based on my own convenience and my own pace. So the teaching learning, whether it is going to be relevant or not, yes, it is. Similar way, the industry is expecting every student before they get into the industry to have a lot of certifications, and these certifications are done through various platforms. So mix of teaching may not be relevant in the current scenario. And the mode of teaching, yes, there are two options available to us. One is the MOOC, which if you have a studio of your own, you can actually record the courses. And to record the courses, you need to have a lot of practice sessions. And please be aware, this cannot be done without sophisticated equipment.
Murli,
The second option, yeah.
just like a small request, personal request, 2-3 minutes more.
Yeah, I can. This is the last slide. And the second option available, which currently most of us are using, the video conferencing. Again, there are multiple solutions available. Currently, this conference is happening through a video conference mode using the Zoom. Similarly, we can actually use Microsoft Teams, Google Class, many other options available. Based on your own convenience, you can think about what is going to be the best option for you. And by our own experience, we can say that Microsoft Teams is the much better solution because most of us have the MS Office as a licensed product. So you can use that without any problems. And it's also much more safer than many other platforms. The second concept in terms of the TLA is the learning. Whether it is going to be effective, the question is always a challenging component. The concentration levels, there are a lot of research which indicates that the maximum period for a concentration of a student for an online learning is going to be 6 minutes kind of thing. So your video or the presentation should not be more than 6 minutes. If you are able to do that and provide a lot of additional material, probably the learning can be much more interesting. And another challenge is going to be the quality of connectivity. 98% of the population in India use actually mobile connectivity. The broadband connectivity is very, very low. And even the bandwidth that is available is also a challenge. So Arpit has spoken about this concept, this challenge of quality of connectivity. The third challenge as part of the learning process is going to be digital divide. And Professor Subudhi and the Pro Vice Chancellor, while inauguration, they said about they have this KISS where many of the students come from the rural background. The challenge is they don't have the smart device or laptop to connect. So that is a challenge. In India, where 1.3 billion people, probably 80% or 70% of the people live in the rural setup. Digital divide is going to be there, and we need to come up with innovative solutions. That's where we can use SWAYAM, NPTEL, and many other channels or government initiatives. And finally, the assessment, the last component to complete the loop. The mode of assessment, can we go for descriptive or objective based on your course, your needs? You can decide about what are we going to be. Merittrack has come up with a solution which actually can evaluate even descriptive. In fact, my colleague who is going to talk, Professor Ravi, also will be talking about his own solution on evaluation of examinations. So I'm not going to touch more into that. And then the assessment, the last component is the duration. Are we going to do it on a regular basis like a continuous assessment, or are we going to do a term end or a final examination? With this, I'm done with my presentation. Thanks for the opportunity, Professor.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
KIIT for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have really managed your time very, very well. Double thanks, Professor Murali, first for your excellent presentation, second for your perfect time management. So without